Hello, and let's get on with it. So you wanna equip your character, eh? Alright. Well, first thing you have to consider is that every character has their preferred weapon and artifact sets, and these can still vary across different team compilations. One thing is common though. Defense-wise, you either learn how to dodge or mitigate your damage, or you become a Zhongli main by waiting and rolling for him when he's available. But we're gonna look at Yoimiya today, because she's got a pretty average artifacts and a 4-star weapon that's only at refinement rank 3. So how to crunch these numbers? Well, first you have to look at the artifacts, and they will have the 4 substats, but they will have either 8 or 9 rolls in them, depending if they start with 3 or 4 substats in the beginning. But more important than them is the primary attributes. Now the flower will always have the flat hit points and the feather will always have flat attack, so you can't really change much about that. But these 2 artifacts are the most important to get the right substats in them. But then there's the other 3. Now all of them can have attack percentage, defense percentage, hit point percentage, or elemental mastery. So only the Suns can have the energy recharge bonus. Only the Goblet can have elemental damage bonuses and physical damage bonus. And the Circlet can have critical rate, critical damage, or healing power. So plan accordingly and try to spread out among the multipliers. But how to crunch these numbers? Well, let's start with animal characters. These 6 animal characters are very easy to remember and build. Focus on elemental mastery, and well, that's pretty much it. Put up some energy recharge on top of that, so that they can use their burst more often. But elemental mastery is the name of the game for these 6 characters. That's because how the square works. So very easy to build, very easy to remember. Now, all the other characters, to dish out the damage potential, you have to invest in the primary attribute. And not every character is attack based. Like these 5 characters, they will give you better performance overall if you invest into defense instead of attack. And these characters, these 7 beans over here, they will give you better performance if you invest into hit points. And then attack as a secondary. But most of the characters will be attack based, and even though some team compilations will pretty much ignore the damage potential and focus on their utility, more or less all of those are attack based, and we're gonna focus on that. So there are 5 multipliers when it comes to damage. First one will be attack multiplier, and that's just your base attack multiplied by your attack percentage bonus. So the second multiplier will be damage, and in this one multiplier, all the damage bonus that you can get from various talents or artifacts or skills, same as the bonuses that says like normal attack bonus, damage bonus, and charge attack damage bonus, and also the goblets elemental damage bonus or your physical damage bonus, they all go into the same multiplier. And the third one will be reactions, though it's a bit different here because, for example, vaporize, as we're looking at example here, will multiply your damage by extra 50%, but the elemental mastery bonus is still multiplicative with that, so they're pretty much 2 separate bonuses, but for the ease of things I'm gonna keep them as one over here. Then there's the criticals, because criticals will straight up multiply your damage. And the last one is the debuff, because if you reduce the enemy's resistance, for example, you're gonna take increased damage and it's gonna multiply with all of those as well. So it's best to spread your artifacts, spread your substats on your artifacts among these as equally as you can. So taking a look at an example of Yoimiya, she's got a with attack and attack percentage, she's got 2117 attack, right? But then as a damage multiplier, she's got the goblet for 46.6% damage, bonus of pyro, and then she's got rust, the rank 3 rust that will increase the normal damage, which is the main source of Mia is doing, by 60%. And they will add together before they multiply with attack. So even though this seems like a lot, keep in mind that she also has Shimenawa's Reminiscence that I did not include here, which will diminishing return this bonus from the rust. The next would be the reactions. I'm considering that she will be used with Jinshu, so she will be vaporizing for extra 50% damage, but she has a 159 and elemental mastery on her, which further increases that damage by 28.3%, and that's multiplicative with that, so that's basically a different separate multiplier. And then for the criticals, she has a decent 74.4 critical rate, and then not so decent plus 123.8 critical damage. But as you can see, multiplying that damage by all these, the maths are done over here. 2117 becomes 4373 after the damage multipliers. They are combined, as you can see in here. And then there's the reaction multipliers. They are multiplicative with each other, so they are multiplicative with everything else. So that 4373 becomes 8417. And then when you put the critical rate on top and you consider that only 74.4% of your hits is going to crit, this will average out at over 14,000 damage, right? So if you would, for example, decide to focus all of your attention on one attribute, and let's just give that example here, you go for a whooping 3000 attack, right? But you ignore any additional damage bonuses, you don't care about elemental mastery, and your criticals are somewhat average, or maybe even below average. As you can see by the maths done on the right side over here, at 3000 is not getting a lot of multipliers, and therefore at the end of the day, even though it's about half as much attack as the previous one, it still goes out way below, and actually as much below the 2117 attack from the previous page, right? So what will be the average stats that you want to focus on for your characters when you're preparing artifacts for them? Well, you should go for 1600 to 2000 attack. You shouldn't really try to push it further beyond that, because there's a lot of sources for attack bonuses in that game. Like you can have Bennett, or you can have food, or there's various other sources that will increase your attack. No point going very much higher than that. Then the damage, obviously get a goblet with a 46.6% damage bonus, and then try to get one or maybe even two if you can more damage bonuses, because that multiplier is rather small, so you can still put more on them before you hit the really high diminishing returns. And then for reaction, try to get 100 to 200 elemental mastery if you are a pyro, cryo or hydro character, because reactions from these three elements, they can crit, they can do critical damage, so they scale up nicely. Because when it comes to electro, obviously physical doesn't apply for the EM, but electro reactions, they cannot crit, so straight off they are losing a lot of damage potential, so it's not as important to focus on those, on increasing those reaction damage, because they are ridiculously small anyway. And then for criticals, you should try to go for about 1 to 2 ratio with critical rate to critical damage. and that would mean I get about 60 to 80% crit rate. And I wouldn't go over 80 because there's some sources that can increase your crit rate in this game, like food, or you can have a dual cryo setup, and various other ones. But with crit damage, I typed 118 here. You can go further than that, but try not to go super high on crit damage and ignore other things. Unless you're the kind of guy that's gonna do like 20 runs and then make a screenshot or a short video showcasing how awesome your build is, even though it only happens very, very rarely. So, yeah, that's it. Bye.